This brings us to the hero and the villain. The hero and the villain. Since we already exist in a polarity dualistic universe, then the hero and the villain is a natural happenstance, a natural archetype that will develop. Somewhere on the scale, do humans exist between the two extremes of the hero and the villain? On one extreme, you see a human being full of infinite potential, divine, perfect, immortal, Christ like, God like, the higher self, the niceties, the goodness, the joy, the family. And somewhere on that scale, does your visionary self take you? On the other end of the spectrum, on the darker side of the force, we have darkness, hierarchy, seduction, addiction, temptations. Its venomous nature and seems just as powerful as the good side of the force. On the dark side of the force, the power, the greed, the lust, extremely powerful. And the artist can, much like a radio dial, tune into either extremity and therefore cover such a wide array of realities and conceptions and creations for many different organizations. Now, this is just the potentials of the artist. This is the qualities of Graysphere Productions and the artistry behind Graysphere Productions. And I realize that. So, enough of the artist. It's now time to talk about specific applications that I feel to be the most relevant. My passions. These I've brought forth to the surface as the most passionate driven conceptions that I currently hold within me. First being quantum physics. I have a passion towards quantum physics. I've studied it greatly, what I would call to a mad level, because only the mad can ever peer into the darknesses and the forces of light and survive on the other side with some sort of sanity. Passion is quantum physics. It's about knowing the universe. As a 3D animator, creator in 3D space, to have an understanding of quantum physics gives me an understanding to recreate matter from its basic constituents, from the microcosm into the galactical universal cosm. By understanding the quantum physics, I've become privy to the turbulence, fractal vortices of energies that intertwine with one another. This fabric, since we are a part of it, naturally rises to consciousness theory. Consciousness theory, or how the human mind evolves with the knowledge of space time. As you can see, these applications as a 3D animator, extremely vast, More specifically, gravity or anti gravity conceptions. Though very controversial, lend the problem to the artist to give you a visual of what is occurring within space time. This also brings up the concept of alternate timelines in creating conceptions based off past, future, and present moment events. How to intertwine those, which can, of course, create multi dimensional thoughts and an assortment of realities that can create sci fi, reality, or science fiction, all within the conceptions of the collaborators, of course. Naturally, this brings me to another passion of mine, and that is the future. Another broad stroke of artistry. The 3D animator can lend credence and credibility to building development. Building development to conceive of new buildings, different structures. Is it above ground? Is it below ground? Is it in the sky? Is it floating? Is it in the water? The conceptual artist can lend its artistry for building development, and thus an array of corporate entities can merge with Graysphere Productions in order to actually conceive of these realities. This, of course, brings integrated systems in the future. There will be integrated systems. And if we don't wipe each other out, well, then we will have integrated systems. A 3D animator can very clearly and visually show you how systems can be integrated digitally, futuristic technologies, and show you how that process works. I could go into more specifics, but we'll save that for a later date. Political and economic structures, of course, 3D animation can lend its credence into that, which of course brings you into collaboration with cinematography and creating a understanding of the political and economic structures that can occur culturally that will lend credence to futuristic theater. Also, the technologies. A conceptual artist can create conceptions of technologies that don't even exist. As you can see, there is a dovetail of my passions weaving into one another. And of course, this can be both positive or negative. I can tweak the future to be both positive or negative. It is without a disclaimer that you still have power to create the future yourself, and that no interpretation of my art can really sway you towards positive or negative. But that is the goal, and also the goal of my collaborators. Space life. You can see where I'm going with my passions. We have galactic planetary policy, which is an area that I've fictionalized for years of how the galactic and planetary systems would actually function. Created systems in my mind, conceptually in 3D space, organizational systems, the technologies, space flight, spacecraft, space stations, you name it, systems of terraforming a planet, how to bring water into a desert, how to turn them green, how to create structure, how to create atmospheres. The applications are endless, which of course taps into a brief subject of other life existing within the vast universe. As you can see, these open up a Pandora's box of realities that I don't have much time to go into today, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. And of course, we have positive or negative concepts in regarding space life, which can tie into positive and negative life forms. This can be applied to the real world and entertainment. The real world, for corporations who need those conceptions to think of how space life would actually be. And of course, it's all very entertaining.